It's our season premiere of Short Takes. Thank you so much for joining us and clicking on the YouTube link and having us on your screen. Let's kick off our season with a gentleman who has spent plenty of time in front of a screen. He is a multi-hyphenate gentleman. I'm going to run out of breath doing this, but I'm going to try. I'll try my best. He is a comedian. He's an author. He's a writer, just writer in general. He's a host, documentarian. He's added somewhat recently. He's a podcast host. He's an Alabamian. Can we throw that in there? Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
He is W. Kamau Bell. Here he is. Hi, bud.
Thank you. I mean, just to be clear to people listening, I'm not born in Alabama, but I've spent a lot of my life in Alabama. I just talked to my dad this morning. He's in Alabama. He's in Mobile. So I have spent a lot of time in Alabama in my life.
Well, here's the thing with us in the Alabama Take. We like to claim guys like you in Alabama because we need those numbers up.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to be claimed. I just want to be clear about, when people start asking what hospital were you born at? Stanford Hospital in California.
Yeah.
So I was going to start to go through it. I don't even have to defend myself. Alabama, Mobile knows I'm there.
Yeah. You got started doing stand-up. I want to go through a few things that you've done, and then we'll get into those 4 questions that we land on. Is there a style of joke that you like to write more than another style of joke?
I like topical jokes.
Oh, yeah?
Jokes. Yeah, I mean, I like jokes that are topical, but also sort of like that connect to evergreen issues. So even though it starts out feeling like it's about something in the news, it connects to something that is deeper than just the headline. So not like topical jokes like the Tonight Show or those monologue jokes, but like I like talking about what's going on. Those are my favorite types of jokes. But if you can write something about what's going on that feels like it's also evergreen, that's the best type of joke to write.
Yeah, it taps into something more universal, perhaps.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think I got to know you much, much more through United Shades of America. I can't believe that's getting its 8th season. Is that right? 8?
We're at 7th season. This is our 7th season. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. No, me neither. TV Hall of Fame.
Yeah. It's an endlessly fascinating show. Very
Thank
watchable.
you. Thank
Debuting
you.
its new season Sunday, July 10th on CNN. I was a big fan of this first season, and then it just got better and better. Is there a tease you want to dole out?
Yeah, I mean, we as always, we're sort of heading straight into the fire, literally and figuratively. So our season kickoff is called the woke war. So it's all about this woke thing that many parts of America are obsessed with, and throughout America, has America gotten
Mm-hmm.
too woke? Is America not woke enough? So we're talking
Mm-hmm.
to people with sort of looking at it through the school issue of schools being sort of like the front lines of the woke war. So we did that in Arizona, as I call it, desert Florida. And we also then we have an episode where I literally go into the fire. It's about wildfires in California, where I live here in Northern California. I mean, they're all
Yeah.
throughout California, but about like how Californians have to learn how to live with fire because it's not going nowhere. So we talked to a lot of firefighters who fought with some of the biggest fires out here, talked to people who do controlled burns, talked to firefighters who've been incarcerated, who learned how to be firefighters in prison. So that's another good one. Yeah, and we have one. Our season finale is in Hawaii, which is where every season finale of every show should be, is in Hawaii.
Yeah, why not? You're talking about those fires. They scare the shit out of me.
Oh yeah, they scared the shit out
They
of
scare
us
me
too,
so bad.
and we haven't. Luckily, my family's never been like threatened by the actual fire. But the thing that I've learned is that that I learned the hard way is that the fire can be hundreds of miles away, thousands of miles away, and the smoke outside your window can be unbreathable. So we've had twice where me and my family like left town just to get away from the air. It wasn't the fire, but it was the air. That the air. We had a day in California. I think it was in late 2020. Yeah, the fall of 2020, where those of us in Northern California call it the red day, where you looked outside your house and the air was red. I'm not saying like, oh, sort of a light pink. No, it
Mm-hmm.
was red. And
Mm.
and you had to have the lights on in your house in the middle of the
Oh
day
my god,
because the air was so red. Yeah, yeah,
dude, that's creepy.
yeah.
Uh,
It was real creepy. And being from Alabama, I felt like, is this the Bible? Is it all
yeah, no,
happening?
it's exact. It's first thought. It's still in
Yeah,
us. It's still in
yeah.
us.
They say we're godless here in California, so maybe this is
Mm,
the end of days. But
well,
yeah.
man. So, doing the United Shades of America show, has it lessened your faith in people, or heightened it, or you still fairly where you were?
I mean, where was I? No, I mean, I think I'm. It's hard to
Seven
remember. That was
seven seasons.
7 years ago, and the last couple of years have been like 20 years. So, I mean, I think the thing that I know is that the problem isn't people. The problem is the structures in this country that make it hard for people to get to the solution. So, if you talk to
Yep.
gang members on the south side of Chicago, they know what the solutions are. We need more investment in this community.
Yeah.
We need more businesses. We need this. We need better policing. Not they don't generally say no policing. We need better. We need policing who feel like they're here to protect us, not here to protect the other communities from us. So
Yeah.
that's all clear. They know what they need. We need better schools, but they
Yep.
can't just make that happen.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
much of it's the same thing in Appalachia. Like you talk to coal miners in Appalachia, they're like, "Well, look, we lost the coal jobs. Yes, we would like those back. We actually just want jobs. We don't, it doesn't have to be coal jobs. Those just paid the best, but we want well-paying jobs so we can
Mm-hmm.
have better schools. Same thing, better streets, better
Mm-hmm.
job opportunities. So those two groups of people who vote for different types of politicians want the same thing, know what they need, but the system has been created in such a way that it's hard to get to the solution.
That's it. That is so.
That's it.
That's so much it. I could go off on that a little, but we'll stick to our we'll stick to our time constraints here. People can find your book on the awkward thoughts of W. Kamau Bell in
Mhm.
paperback. It's in
It's
paperback now.
It's in paperback, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So.
yeah. I bought all the last hard copies. They told me either I could buy them or they were gonna like throw them away, and I was like, I'll take them. I'll buy them from you. So
Oh, okay.
I
All
have the
right.
last hard copies available for sale. I give them away usually.
Okay.
And
There's
then I have a new book coming out, Do the Work, an anti-racist workbook for adults.
okay. So that is. I thought. Okay.
Yeah, that's
How
coming.
soon?
It's
How soon we talking?
July 19th. It'll be out just in time to cure America of its racism. Yeah. So
It,
me and my friend Kate Schatz, who wrote
just in
the series
time.
of books, me and my friend Kate Schatz, who wrote the series of book Rad American Women A to Z, collaborated on this book. We brought in a bunch of graphic designers, and it's basically like those brain quest books, those books you give kids in the
Mm-hmm.
summer so their brains don't turn to mush. It's like that,
Yeah.
except for racism for adults. So it's filled with activities and games and quizzes, and yeah, hopefully by the end you'll know how to create an anti-racist society. That's what we hope.
That's cool. On the cover of the awkward thoughts of W. Kamau Bell, it says left leaning, and I'm curious. This is where I was going with that one. What made you push the brakes, or maybe it wasn't you, maybe it was somebody push the brakes on not just saying leftist or progressive. What left leaning?
Because I've never described myself as those things. So I've never
Mm,
described myself as a leftist, and I don't. And I think
sure.
maybe there's a period where I said progressive, but it just those things. I think those things people start to put you into a box when you say those things.
Uh
I felt
huh.
like at the time I was like, I definitely lean left. I don't know, and I may lean further left than people who lean on the left, but I
Ah.
felt like that is far more that I feel more comfortable with that. I think a lot of these things they start to become like it's like WWE wrestling. Like it starts to be like it's which or professional sports. Which team are you on? And so
Yeah.
like I
It
actively
is.
didn't say
Yeah.
I didn't say Democrat. I didn't say
Yes. Yes.
I could have said a lot of things, but I just felt like if you're going to look at me and hear how I talk, this is one of these descriptors are like, what are the essential things about me? What are some
Mm-hmm.
of them? Not all of
Mm-hmm.
them. And I definitely feel like that's a big part of it. Like, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Moving into your other work, you did the critically acclaimed. This got a lot of attention. The Showtime. It's still on Showtime. You can get. I guess it might be on demand, but probably on the Showtime app.
It
We
is on the
need.
Showtime app.
Yeah. We need to talk about Cosby.
Yes, I did that. I did
Uh,
that. I did
it,
that. I did that.
anything from doing that surprised you? Because I think I know all of that story. You may have
Yeah.
thought you knew all of the story. Is there anything that you thought or
I mean,
surprised you
I've
about
talked to
doing it?
people all the time who like some people who said I didn't want to watch it, but I was curious. Some people who haven't watched it and they're still mad at me, even though they don't know what they're mad about exactly. The thing there, even people who like me believe the survivors and their stories because there's over 60 as we know about. And let me be
Mm,
clear, since I've done the doc, I've heard from other survivors about stories that survivors who didn't come forward because they saw what the other survivors had to deal with. So it's
mhm,
definitely way more than 60. But the fact is, like many people didn't realize how early in his career that those survivors started experiencing that the survivors spoke up. So the earliest one we know of is from the mid '60s, from way
mhm,
before he was Cliff Huxtable, from way before he was the biggest comedian in America. It was when
mhm.
he was a working comedian in show business, and a woman says that he assaulted and raped her. So I think that was the thing that was most surprising is that how long back those stories go. I think a lot of us just sort of think they happened around the Cosby Show or maybe after the Cosby Show, but they're pretty consistent throughout his career, as far as we know.
Yeah. Okay.
And I
Now,
think the other thing that was surprising is that this is the thing that made me so that the doc is about this. It's about telling those stories and bringing light to those women, and also letting them talk in ways they don't normally get to talk, so they can talk
mhm,
about their lives and get to be experts about things that aren't just about their experiences with Bill Cosby. And the other thing is
yeah.
that it's hard to throw Bill Cosby away because there are things you can point to in his career that did seismic change specifically for Black people in show business.
Yes.
Like he there's a story we tell in episode 1 where he when he got his first TV show I Spy,
Mm.
he saw a stuntman getting painted black and he asked what was going on, and they said, that's your stuntman for your stunt today. And he said, no, 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 I will not work unless you get me a black stuntman. And that changed the stunt industry for black stunt performers.
Yeah.
At that, they all the information says that's the moment that black people started to be able to do stunts in show business. So,
Wow.
yeah. So it's like that's what makes the story so compelling to tell. For me, is like for a lot of these men, and it's overwhelmingly men who have been accused of sexual assault or who you believe have sexually assaulted people. They weren't such heroes and icons, and so that's why I think the story
Mm.
is compelling for me to tell, because it's like, how do you balance all this out? Which I don't think you really balance it out. I think you just deal with the truth as you see it.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of men, you are online asking men to step up to help women's abortion rights.
I guess
What?
that's left leaning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, no, yeah,
Eh,
yeah. I mean, I had some. I've done, the United Shades has been great for me. I mean, I feel like it's given me a degree in America, like a like a college degree in America.
wow. Yeah.
So season 3 or 4, I think it was 3 or 4, I can't remember which one. I went to Mississippi to the Jackson's Women's Health
Mm-hmm.
Clinic and got to
Mm-hmm.
see and got to meet Lori Bertram Roberts, who was with the Mississippi Reproduction Fund, but is now with Yellowhammer, which actually is an organization out of Alabama.
That's right.
And you get to see how Roe versus Wade is overturned, which looks likely to happen. It's not going to stop rich people from getting the abortions they
No.
need. It's
No.
not going to stop. It's not going to stop. And what it will do is it'll make it harder for poor and specifically Black, brown, and indigenous women to get the abortions they need. And and you're talking about, we're already in a country where Black women die at a higher rate during birth than they do in other developed countries.
That's right.
So it is only going to be bad for all of America, but specifically, as always, if it's bad for all of America, it's going to be bad for Black women. So I learned a
Right.
lot that week, and as much as it seems like I'm not always that excited to put myself on Front Street on these things, but it's like they told Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. In the middle of these fractured times, I feel like it's important for me, specifically with what I do, to be clear what side of history I want to be on. So I talked. My friend Adam Mansbach wrote it. Some friends in Oakland and put it together, Oakland and Berkeley, and I'm always like, couldn't you get a more famous comedian than me? And they said, we want you. So, and I think it is also about the fact that a lot of times, especially men on the left, they feel like men on the right seem to often want to tell women what to do with their bodies. Men on
Right.
the left seem to go, I want to let women be independent and let them do it themselves, as a cop out for actually getting involved in the fight. So
Uh-huh.
this was about
Yeah.
inviting men on the left to get involved in this fight, and specifically dads, because you think as a dad, well, what do I have to do with this? I already have my kids. I have a
Mm-hmm.
vasectomy. This got nothing to do with me. No, it's
Mm.
got something to do with you, because birth control has most likely been an essential part of your life.
100%. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that hit home. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Let's.
Hitting home with W. Kamau Bell. It's
There
okay.
he is.
It's the Alabama podcast. I should be hitting home.
Let's get into our 4 questions. Everybody knows we send these questions ahead. We give these some thought, and we'll dive into our first one through comedy and documenting. What's the most shocking thing you've learned about people that, and it could be the thing where you have like in comedy it was this, and in documenting people it was this. So,
I think I'm. It's funny. I think this has been said before. How seriously we sometimes take comedians, and how not seriously we sometimes take politicians. If a comedian tells a joke, often you will take that joke and go, "This means something to me. Is a definitive statement on this." You don't even know if the comedian did the homework to prove the thing they're saying is true or not. You just go, "The comedian said it. I agreed with it, so it must be true." So that means in comedy, there's a thing I like to call comedy logic. A comic can make something funny, and it doesn't have to make any sense. It's just about how you make something funny.
uh huh,
So it's like you can tell, but a lot of times people think, we have this expression, it's funny because it's true. And so, which because we want to believe that if I'm laughing at it, that must mean there is truth in there. That's not true. It means there is a joke in there. And
Uh-huh.
so you see a lot of times with comedians where a comedian will tell a joke and people will go, yes, see, that comedian told that joke and I laughed at it. So it means that issue must be true because I laughed at it because I'm smart and that comedian's smart. And so they said the thing that I agree with.
Uh-huh.
When in reality, the comedian just wrote the thing to be funny. And you shouldn't build a house on a comics joke. Now, a
Mhm.
comics joke can be true if they've done the work to check the facts and everything, but generally that's not the goal. And then on the other hand, we have currently the January 6th Commission, where there's all this evidence that all these politicians and cabinet members and associates of the president were trying to dismantle democracy, and we are being told by politicians it was just a protest, it was just a rally that got out of control,
Mhm.
and we're debating whether that's true or not instead of just going, no, but listen to what the politicians said. Listen to what we have all this, they've turned on each other. We have all this evidence and written testimony and testimony. And yet we're like, well, how can we know?
Yeah.
So that's what I've learned. It's really frustrating to think that like comedians are often taken way more seriously than politicians.
We'll go to question two. What's the most unlikely or maybe implausible Alabama thing about you since you spent so much time here? A lot of your life was in Alabama. So
Yeah, no, I used
what's
to
an
come there
Alabama
every.
thing?
Yeah. Oh, what's? I mean, whenever I tell people out here, like I've gone shrimping. Like there's that scene in Forrest Gump where they talk about,
Yeah.
all the famous scene talking about all the different types of shrimp.
Yeah.
I, as a kid, several times went out on a shrimp boat and caught the shrimp and brought, not I didn't personally, but we put out the nets and pulled the shrimps and the crabs in because it's all the same nets, and you take it home and you devein the shrimp and you got that I don't know what to call it, but that long red tool to help you get the shell off and get the poop out. I've de-pooped the shrimp before with at my grandmother's house in Mobile, and yeah, I've definitely eaten more than my fair share of shrimp. If there's a
Yeah.
shrimp shortage, Alabama's probably responsible for it. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I have gone. I have done. To me, that feels like one of the most Alabama and Southern things you can do is go shrimping, getting up in the early morning, going shrimping.
Mm-hmm. Drop that G, go shrimping.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's not something that people in Oakland and Berkeley, San Francisco, would when I tell them that they're like, "What?" So yeah, I think that's the most. I think my relationship to shrimp is strictly through Alabama. So
Yeah.
like,
Do you still eat shrimp? Do you still love it?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
and luckily out here because there's so much Asian food, they eat a
Mm-hmm.
lot of shrimp too. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a that Black Asian alliance that we keep working on is still we're still working on it. It'll
Yeah.
come through. It'll go through shrimp.
Your shows tend to reckon with some harsh truths. They need to. What's one
Hmm.
harsh truth that you have a tendency to ignore just on your own?
I mean, whenever you say like, "Oh, I've dealt with all the hardship," it usually means you haven't dealt with yourself. So like, I feel like what is one harsh truth that I haven't dealt with on my? I mean, there's more things I want to explore through my work, and the thing that makes me sort of almost bummed out is I'm always attracted to the hardest discussions, and those aren't easy
Mm-hmm.
to have.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep feeling like I keep sort of stepping into these. Like me and my wife talk about this all the time. Like I'm thinking about taking another project that is not like the Cosby thing, but is also super thick and thorny, and it would be hard to do. And there's talk of like, do we want to do that again? Do you want to go through that kind of thing again? And yet I feel like I don't know that I think it's my job to. And yet I also feel like sometimes like, can't I just have fun sometimes? Like, so I think the harsh truth that I think when I think about this, like, is how my career and the things I'm doing are actually affecting my health, mental and physical.
Oh,
So like,
wow.
the idea being that like I sometimes feel like I'm in the middle of things of like, is this the stuff of heart attacks right now that I'm doing? Is this the stuff? Because I'm at this point, I'm 49, so if I die now, it'll be sad, but it's not like the
Yeah.
youngest person who ever died in the history of the planet. So it won't be like he was so young. Especially as a black man, it'll be like, hey, he did pretty good. So for me, the harsh truth is about like how my career and the stress that it causes and the agita, as they say, is
Mm.
actually affecting my health mentally and physically. So I am in therapy. So I do that once a week. I talk to a therapist, but I'm also like, and the pandemic really slowed me down physically because as it did
Mm-hmm.
for many of us. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
still trying to come back to a active physical life
Yeah.
not post the pandemic because we're going to be in it forever, but post the beginning of the pandemic.
When I was a kid, my mom would iron my clothes, and for the next day of
I know you're.
school.
I feel bad. I did. Normally, a T-shirt on the podcast is the way to go, but I should have thought this is
Oh
Alabama. I should have
no,
worn my
sir.
suit and tie too.
Oh no, sir. No, you're no. I do
I
this to
came
be.
California. I should have come Alabama.
There's a certain silliness to me doing this, so
No,
you're fine. You're fine.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, but my mom would iron my clothes for the school day, and she would say that there'd be certain shirts or pants. She'd say, "This is done up real good." I mean, really meaning she liked it. It's going to look great. So we give our guest an opportunity to lighten the mood a little and tell us what's done up real good for you of late, forever, all your life, whatever you want. Any answer is acceptable to this. So, what's done up real good?
I mean, I hate to be that guy, but my kids are awesome.
Yeah. No.
I think that not that I hate to be that guy, but I think, but I say this, you think I'm just saying everybody thinks their kids are awesome. No, but mine are particularly awesome. I think the
Okay.
the great thing about I think this is, I mean, I think we all have to give our kids more credit for this. Just the way for many of them, they have survived and even thrived through the pandemic because they have been living the thing they're living through. None of us as adults can relate to. We're going through it on an adult level, but we have no idea how we would go through it on a kid level.
That's true.
Uh, I mean, I'm really like just recently. I don't know where this came from, but my 4-year-old has started to call me bro, which I probably should be like, that's disrespectful, but it makes me laugh every time. So
Yeah.
my kids, I see they understand the power of a sense of humor. I'm not saying they got
Yeah.
it from me, but they know I'm a comedian.
Oh,
But
they
they
got it
understand
from
the
you.
power of laughter. I mean, my wife's funny too, but I'm funnier, I'd say. But like they understand the power of laughter to gain control and to take tension out of a room. And so all three of my kids are funny in very different ways, which I think as a parent, you don't understand that they show up with these personalities and they sort of go that direction their whole lives. And so for me, yeah, because he just did it yesterday or Sunday for the first time. When my 4-year-old on Father's Day called me bro, I was like, we've done some good work here. This is we've got like we've done some good parenting here that this kid feels. I don't know where she got. I don't call anybody bro. I don't talk like
Yeah.
that. I don't know where she's out in these streets learning, hearing people call each other bro. Maybe it's a cartoon or something, but
Get her out of the streets, man. Come on.
yeah, and it's the streets from our house to our pre-K school. It's not
Yeah.
These aren't very
Yeah. Me too.
complicated streets. Yeah.
Gotcha. You do have an 11-year-old. We talked before the show. It's going to be interesting for some of our kids
Mm.
in 10 years, 15 years, where they are with having gone through the COVID pandemic and also a bunch of other stuff that's happening now.
Yeah.
I'm a teacher in my spare time. In my spare time, I like to
Yeah, yeah.
teach.
Oh yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see where these kids are, and we'll try to help them.
I mean, I believe that the same way that my wife's grandmother, who was in her 90s, is sort of consist. She's like clearly still marked by the Great Depression.
Uh huh.
Like like
Uh
still
huh.
trying to buy food too big, and even and try and just sort of like has sort of a not a hoarder mentality, but just has like a we need to make sure we have enough. And I think that these kids will be marked by this period of history, and there will be the generations that follow them will be like, oh, those are those people. In the same way that we look at the Great Depression people, like, oh, that's why they are that way. I don't know what that way is yet, how that
Mm-hmm.
will manifest
Mm-hmm.
itself, but
Mm-hmm.
there will be a way in which I think they will be permanently marked the way that some generations are by the trauma and history that they lived through.
Mm-hmm. Gosh almighty, you just made me think of something. My mother lived through the Great Depression, and I have a tendency to buy three things instead of just the
Yeah.
one that you need. That's been
Yep.
passed down from her.
Yep. Because
Oh
you
my
learned it. You learned it
goodness.
honestly. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you can be my therapist. We'll see you next week.
Well, it's funny. My therapist says to me, "Remember, you're not a trained therapist because people do treat me like that." And he's like,
Yeah, they
"Just to
do.
remind you,
They
you're not
do.
actually a therapist." I was like, "Thank you, thanks,
Th-
Cliff."
Yeah, they do. All right. Thank you so much for your time. You've spent a little time with us. It's been great, awesome, and fun. You, everyone who's watching though, can find you at, let's see, wkamaubell.com. You're on Twitter.
Hmm.
You're on Instagram. We'll put those
Hmm.
links in our show notes. People can just click
Sure.
on them really easily. You're
Sure.
out there helping with abortion rights, and let's not
And teachers,
forget.
with donors' shoes.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Donors.
that's right.
Yeah. So
That's
I'm also on the board of Donors Choose to help teachers raise money for school projects and
oh
supplies.
man.
So put a project up on there. We will help
God,
you out.
God bless you for your work. Let's some big things though. United Shades of America, so good. I've always loved that show. I watched it since day one. We've
Thank
got
you.
that's on July 10th, Sunday night,
July 10th
CNN.
on CNN, 10 p.m.
Hmm.
Actually, in Alabama will be 9 p.m. On CNN. Yeah.
Look at this guy. He's still
Yeah,
an out.
Central Times. I still got my Central Time Zone in me.
And your book,
Yep. Do the
your book,
work, which will be out
did,
July 19th.
July 19th. Yep. Thank you so much to W. Kamau Bell. Thank you for watching, and we'll see everybody later. Thanks.
Thank you.
Will went walking and was blown away. Found his finger by my mama's grave.